Drishti, of course, what is on brokerage radar and what has been on our radar, of course, is that Hyundai Motor listing. So, when you take a look at the initiation notes, there's a host of those that we should be looking at.
Well, certainly, Shransi, and even the kind of the reaction that we saw on the day of the listing was actually a bit of the surprising. But yes, indeed, there were some of the concerns that the market participants had, and because of that, it was a 7% cut on the day one of Hyundai Motors listing. But for now, it's a bit of a respite coming in, but the stock is trading below its upper price band of 1960, and as of now, what we are seeing is that the stock is in the greens of 3%. So let's put the picture clear for our viewers, wherein first of all, we would like to highlight some of the key pushbacks with respect to Hyundai Motors IPO. From investor point of view, there was a concern that in the times ahead, there could be increase in the royalty, which now stands at 3.5%. The another key concern was the margin contraction due to higher royalty. Entire IPO was in OFS. No fresh capital was coming into the company, which was again making it not that attractive in terms of the expansion plans. And do remember that Hyundai parent also has a stake in Kia Motors, and Kia also has a good competition and a presence in Indian market. So that was a conflict of interest that these investors were spotting. And lastly, the dividend payment to the parent and even the timing, the slowdown in the passenger vehicle market was some of the dampeners for Hyundai Motors IPO. But on that, the management also took the step forward and tried to clarify it on that. Firstly, on the royalty payment, they're not expecting much of an increase. There's a proven track record which the market participant did note. The management assured that going ahead that the EV models will be a key focus, and expanding in the export regions and the export revenue will also be a key factor. So keeping all of those pros and cons in view, these brokerages have taken note of that, and 6 brokerages have initiated the coverage and would like to highlight that majority of them do have a positive stance on Hyundai Motors IPO. On your screens, you will see from the likes of Macquarie, Nomura, Ambit, Motilal Oswal and DAM Capital. They both have positive rating on this one. And the target price range is from 2165 rupees going up to 2471 rupees. All the brokerage prices are mentioned on your screen, but it's MK that continues to maintain its stance as a reduce with the target price of 1750 rupees. But what we would like to highlight is the valuation as well, because this company did come out with a valuation of close to 18 times FY26 PE estimates, and in comparison to Maruti Suzuki, it was at a discount of 20%. But given the track record, what these analysts are expecting, that they are expecting more than 20% growth in the next 2 financial years as well, and hence arriving at this particular price point. But all in all, Hyundai Motors, for all the investors out there, given the size of this IPO, Shansi, believe that the retailers finally could have some respite with a kind of a jump in today's trading session.
Well, absolutely. Some respite for retailers might be penciled in at this point, but let's take the conversation forward then with our guests for the day. Kunal Bothra as well as Shahina Muqaddam are joining us right now. Thank you so much for taking time out and joining us. Kunal, I'm going to come to you first. Not enough chart history when it comes to Hyundai, but what do you make of the overall auto space then against the backdrop that Hyundai sort of is listing at?
I think it's a good recovery for the market. So I think on the back of this, my expectation is that many of these auto stocks, which you mentioned, for example, the likes of, say, Maruti, Tata Motors, etc. These stocks are going through a very strong momentum on a longer term basis. Now, yes, in the last 10-15 days, the charts for many of these stocks have dampened. But then when we look at this as an opportunity, this could actually be a very good opportunity to try and scale up investments in many of these auto stocks. My belief is that the likes of Tata Motors, which has come back to that 850-60 mark, I think at current levels the risk reward is extremely attractive. From a longer term basis to initiate a buy. Then look at Maruti. The stock has been holding on to that 11,800-600 zone, also coinciding with the 200 moving average for Maruti. M&M, I think, has been a fantastic mover. The stock has done exceptionally well in the last 2-3 years. Remember, from 700 to 750 levels as a breakout, the stock crossing the levels of 3,300 also in the recent past. So I think these 10%, 15% or 20% corrections which have happened for these stocks on the large cap basis should be taken as a good opportunity to buy or average.
Alright, Right, so that's the take on the auto space. But Shahina, I'm coming to you and want your take on Hyundai Motors. Given this particular IPO and the price that the stock is trading at, do you find it at an attractive opportunity to go ahead and buy at these levels and maybe invest for the long term?
We should wait for some more time before you actually enter Hyundai Motors, in my view. As you mentioned, you listed actually most of the points. One is, of course, that the funds raised were largely OFS. So to that extent, any fund capex that going forward will actually come from the company. So that was a bit of a dampener. Secondly, of course, you have a lot of competition that is there. And third is valuations. Well, even Maruti is expensive, but Hyundai is equally expensive. So if I was to take my pick among the whole group, I would prefer Tata Motors as of now, because there's a lot happening over there in Tata Motors. And it is, in terms of valuation, it is more attractive compared to the other two. So I would go with the Tata Motors.
Thanks, Shahina, for that take coming in. So Tata Motors is something that she's bullish on.
There comes a time when your heart calls for you to arise. Plant your feet solid into the ground. Decide your own limits. And then break right through them. Become something more. It's my time to rise.